Hello, today we're going to be talking about scholarly journal abstracts and why they're important not only to you as a researcher, but also for you as an academic writer. When we talk about writing scholarly journal abstracts, we're really talking about deciphering the results of a study or looking at the work of someone else and determining how it applies to our understanding of material or our creation of new material. So, an abstract is a short, objective description of an intellectual resource, and it's usually going to appear in a written document. We as professors often assign these to get into good academic habits for if you're publishing and writing in the future. It is written after an original manuscript or article is composed and completed. It's going to be a short, bite-sized version of your paper. Generally speaking, these will not go beyond 200 words. And in fact, many publications limit you to less than 200 words when publishing an abstract. When writing an abstract, it is important to keep in mind the purposes of an abstract. One main purpose is to provide a reader with useful information about a document. Another main purpose of an abstract could be to help readers evaluate and select a document that they may find useful in their own research. And it should allow a reader to get to the bare bones information about an article or document without requiring them to read the entire document, which sometimes can be 20, 30 or more pages. So an abstract, while it's not a simple summary, it's also not a critique. It is a bite-sized version of your paper, and it's going to address a number of points. There are multiple components in abstracts, and I want you to take a look at them one by one. So we're familiarizing ourselves with what we are needing to look for. So the first thing that's going to appear in an abstract is your scope or your reason for writing, your purpose. You're going to ask yourself, what was the importance of the research? Why would a reader be interested in the larger work? This purpose section of an informative abstract should state that reason or the primary objectives for the experiment, investigation, or discussion. The purpose section is an informative abstract, might also contain the hypothesis of an experiment if it's a scientific paper. The next section is going to be the problem. As a writer and as a researcher, you constantly need to be asking yourself, what problem or argument or claim or thesis is central to the work? What is it attempting to solve or assert? The next step is going to be methodology. An abstract of a scientific work may include specific models, scientific approaches that were used in a larger study. It might describe the types of evidence used in the research, and it's going to discuss how the writer came to their conclusions. The methodology section of an informative abstract should describe those techniques that were used in conducting the experiment or investigating the problem. It should only give as much detail as is necessary to understand the experiment. It should not focus entirely on methods unless that's the primary focus of the entire document. It should be a bit more generalized. The next component would be results. The abstract of a scientific work could include specific data that indicates the results of the project or the outcomes. Others might address findings in a more generalized way. It should relate to the observations and or data that's collected during the pursuit of this problem, and it should be concise and informative. The last section is implications, oftentimes referred to as conclusions. The conclusion section should state the evaluation or analysis of the experimental results or discussion results. It should also briefly state the implications, right? It should ask the reader to view the broader context or what this paper, this finding means to a larger group or to a larger discussion. So it's going to address whether the argument, claim, thesis was relevant and or correct. All abstracts should include a full citation of the source preceding the abstract. The most important information always comes first. The same type of style and language found in the original, including technical language. You do not want a hyper-stylized paper full of scientific terms, for example, and then have your abstract be in layman's terms. You want them to match and be indicative of what your reader would be dealing with if reading the entire article. You might identify keywords and phrases that quickly identify the content and the focus of the work. Though optional, it can be very helpful. And you want it to have clear, concise, and powerful language. Sometimes I will call these the ABCs of an effective abstract. You want it to be accurate. You want it to have brevity, clarity, and just be very direct in your language. Don'ts. These are huge academic no-nos. You do not refer extensively to other works. This is your original work. So when writing an abstract, you don't want to pull in other authors. You don't want to add information not contained in your original work. You don't want to define terms. You leave that in the body paragraph of the abstract. And we never write from first person point of view when conducting academic discourse. So you're not going to say things like this book describes or I think, I feel. We're going to use active verbs. And if these are things that we need to do refreshers on, we certainly can. But use familiar terminology whenever you can and explain terms that may be unfamiliar, but do not define them in the abstract. I wanted to provide you an example of an abstract. This one is from Gravitational Radiation from Black Hole Spacetimes by Luis Lanier. But I wanted to show you the parts as they appear. So I'm going to give you a minute to read. You can pause the video to read the abstract in its entirety. Okay, hopefully you paused and looked through the abstract itself. I have delineated this out into various pieces, which is why they are color-coded and some portions are underlined. The first section, right, we discussed was the scope or the reason, the why we are conducting this study or the why we're contributing and developing this article. So that would be this first chunk, right? It was identified in blue. The problem of detecting gravitational radiation is receiving considerable attention with the construction of new detectors in the US, Europe, and Japan. The theoretical modeling of the wave forms would be produced in particular systems will expedite the search and analysis of the detected signals. So this is our author giving us the why. In green, we have the what is the problem? What is the study doing? So it says the characteristic formulation of GR is implemented to obtain an algorithm capable of evolving black holes in 3D asymptically flat spacetimes. Using compactification techniques, future null infinity is included in the evolved region, which enables the unambiguous calculation of the radiation produced by some compact source. The module to calculate the waveforms is constructed and included in the evolution algorithm. Man, that is a mouthful. But when we are talking about the problem, writing in various disciplines, your problems are going to be discipline specific. There's going to be language that might not make sense to people outside of your field. So it's important both when you are writing abstracts and researching and evaluating abstracts that you're keeping that in mind, that it's written for a very specific audience. It's not always written for the general population. The next component we discussed is methodology. What was the research method? This doubles up. It's going to be underlined back here in the original. You'll notice that the methodology is also connected to the what is the problem and what is the research method. So again, it's very much similar, right? We've taken actually the same portion of the abstract because both the what is the problem and the research method are in tandem. The last one was results. It is going to be indicated in pink. It says the code is shown to be second order convergent and to handle highly nonlinear spacetimes. In particular, we have shown that the code can handle spacetimes whose radiation is equivalent to a galaxy converting its whole mass into gravitational radiation in 1 second. We further use the characteristic formulation to treat the region close to the singularity in black hole spacetimes. Good morning, teachers. Please pardon me. We further use the characteristic formulation to treat the region close to the singularity in black hole spacetimes. The code carefully excises a region surrounding the singularity and accurately evolves generic black hole spacetimes of apparent unlimited stability. So those results are given. The writer is telling you exactly what they were trying to do, how they approached it, and what the outcomes were. All in all, abstracts can be an incredible tool both in the research process and the writing process. I've attached a folder of sample informative abstracts, how to write an abstract, and formatting an abstract into our module to help you with our assignment this week. Okay. If you have any questions or you need any further guidance, please do not hesitate to reach out.